My wife said to me, "I think we should take a break." Just as her ex was moving back to town, I declared. The notification chimed as I stirred the pasta sauce, an ordinary Tuesday evening, until my eyes fell upon my phone. The words of Sophia illuminated the screen with a soft radiance. Perhaps it would be wise for us to pause for a moment. 3 years of wedded bliss, captured in 7 words. I placed my wooden spoon aside, dried my hands, and reached for the phone. The peculiar aspect lay not in the message itself. We had been circling one another in recent days, exchanging words yet failing to truly connect. The peculiar aspect was the tranquility that enveloped me, akin to finally receiving a diagnosis for the symptoms I had long overlooked. "Very well," I responded. It was only in due time that I would discover Ethan's return to town. Her former lover, a figure who perpetually hovered in the narratives she shared. It was only in hindsight that I would grasp the true essence of what it meant to pause. Yet, in that instant, my straightforward reply unveiled a truth I had not entirely acknowledged. At times, the most graceful response to treachery is merely, "Okay." The Tuesday evening ritual had settled into our lives with the same comforting presence as the framed wedding photo resting on our mantel. Sophia sliced the vegetables with precision as I infused the chicken with marinade. A silent ballet unfolding in our kitchen, where actions spoke louder than words. 3 years of marriage had revealed the intricate dance of our shared rhythms. "The Andersons have extended an invitation for dinner this Saturday," I remarked. As I placed the chicken into the oven, I informed them that I would consult with you before proceeding. Sophia nodded, her knife maintaining a steady cadence against the cutting board. "That ought to suffice." I observed her for a moment, noting the delicate crease between her brows and the subtle tension in her shoulders at the mention of weekend plans. A shift had occurred in the past few weeks. Our dialogues had shifted to a practical exchange, resembling colleagues collaborating in an office rather than partners entwined in the fabric of life. "Is everything all right?" I inquired, propping myself against the counter. "Merely fatigued." Her usual reply of late. "The chaos of work has been overwhelming." The image affixed to our refrigerator drew my attention. We were laughing on the beach last summer. Her head thrown back in pure delight, that iteration of Sophia appeared more and more remote, supplanted by a figure who was there in body yet absent in spirit. "If you prefer, we could bypass the Andersons," I suggested. "Simply embrace a tranquil weekend." "It's perfectly all right." With deft precision, she gathered the vegetables into a bowl, her actions marked by a quiet efficiency. "It will be delightful to encounter them once more." I nodded, acknowledging her response. Yet I couldn't help but observe the absence of fervor in her tone. The distance between us grew, each fleeting moment contributing to the chasm. "Can you believe who has returned to town?" 3 days later, my coworker Marcus brought it up casually during lunch. "Ethan Reeves. Do you recall him? I had a relationship with Sophia during my college years, prior to your acquaintance with her." The name was registered without delay. Ethan played a significant role in Sophia's college narratives, her first serious relationship enduring for almost 4 years until he accepted a job on the other side of the country. She had once confided in me that the breakup had been his choice. "There exists a profound necessity for room to flourish." "Encountered him at the gym," Marcus went on. "He mentioned that he will be beginning his journey at Meridian Technologies next week." Sophia held the position of project manager at Meridian. I nodded, maintaining a calm facade even as a sudden constriction gripped my chest. "What a small world," I remarked, managing to conjure a smile. That evening, I brought it up in a nonchalant manner. Today, Marcus caught sight of Ethan. He mentioned that he has returned to town. Sophia's hand lingered momentarily as she navigated through her phone. "Indeed, I've caught wind that he could be making a return. It seems he will be taking up a position at Meridian." "Is that so?" Her astonishment appeared to be scripted. She placed her phone on the surface, its screen facing the ground. What a small world it is. As the days unfolded, the pattern began to reveal itself with increasing clarity. Sophia's phone perpetually at her side, its screen consistently turned away from my gaze. Meetings that had suddenly emerged, unannounced, on her calendar. The subtle jolt I felt upon entering the room unannounced, As if I had intruded upon a solitary contemplation that I beheld, I scrutinized, I lingered, allowing her the freedom to express what was necessary. Yet, the words remained elusive. The silence between us deepened, punctuated only by the incessant notifications that compelled her to grasp her phone with a fervor that had long since faded in our connection. We occupied opposite ends of the sofa, the television softly murmuring in the background. Neither of us truly observing, both feigning interest. Sophia sat at the dinner table, her silence palpable, her gaze flickering to her phone with an almost obsessive frequency. She placed it down with intention and turned to meet my gaze. "Daniel," she began, her voice meticulously measured, "that I wish to discuss a matter with you." I silenced the television and faced her, an inkling of what was about to unfold stirring within me. Perhaps it would be wise for us to pause for a moment. The words lingered in the space that separated us. I examined her features closely. The manner in which she had practiced for this moment was clear in her deliberate tone. In the way her gaze locked with mine before wandering off. A pause, I reiterated. "Could you clarify what that means, Sophia?" She twisted her wedding ring, a nervous habit I had observed with increasing regularity in recent days. "I require a bit of distance. It is a moment to ponder the intricacies of life." "Echoes of things," I murmured. "Is this related to Ethan's return?" A brief flash of astonishment flitted across her features, swiftly replaced by a mask of composure. "This is solely about oneself. This narrative unfolds around our shared journey. It seems as though we have merely been navigating the routine, without any real engagement. That I might have engaged in a debate, could have brought to her attention the promises we exchanged, the life we crafted together, the dreams we envisioned. She might have inquired straightforwardly about the text she had been concealing. I merely inclined my head in acknowledgement. "Very well." Now, astonishment was clearly etched upon her features. "Very well. If you need space, I won't stop you," I murmured softly. "What thoughts are you having regarding the logistics?" Relief washed over her, dispelling the remnants of surprise. Things were unfolding with an ease she hadn't expected. "That I might spend some time with my sister, just until I sort everything out." "What about the lease? What about the bills?" Practical concerns, far simpler to converse about than the unraveling of aspirations. "Of course," she said quickly, "I'll still cover my half. No financial changes occur. This is merely a fleeting moment." I nodded once more, observing her as she commenced the mental cataloging of her selections. There was an undeniable conviction in her demeanor that suggested this separation was far from fleeting. "At what time did you envision your departure?" I inquired. "Perhaps tomorrow, if that suits you." Her swift reply validated my prior understanding. This choice had been settled days, maybe even weeks prior. Once more, I uttered the word, encapsulating everything I wished to convey about maintaining dignity amidst the certainty of conclusions. 2 weeks after Sophia's departure, the first rent notification made its presence known. I placed it aside, confident that she would honor her commitment to manage her portion. We had come to an understanding to keep our financial obligations distinct until she found her footing. I dispatched a friendly text reminder. Silence lingers. A week later, the second notice arrived, bearing the weight of a late fee. I dialed her number, but it went directly to voicemail. I sent a carefully worded message regarding the outstanding payment, maintaining a neutral tone, simply inquiring about the rent. A second notice has been dispatched by the property management company. Time flowed on. Silence prevails. I proceeded to send an email next. "Sophia, I would like to confirm whether you intend to fulfill your part as we previously discussed. I would appreciate it if you could inform me of your decision, as it will help me make the necessary arrangements." The response remained elusive, yet her social media unveiled a fresh collection of photographs, an evening meal at a refined establishment that I knew to be Ethan's preferred choice. Her radiant smile illuminated the unfamiliar surroundings, a scene we had yet to share. The third notice arrived, emblazoned with the words "Final Warning" in striking bold red letters. This time, I took it upon myself to pay the full amount to steer clear of eviction proceedings. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I composed a final message to send into the digital ether. This month's rent has been taken care of. I seek to understand your intentions as we move ahead. This has implications for my financial strategy. The property manager reached out the subsequent week. Dear Mr. Hayes, it has come to our attention that Ms. Stoked Hayes' name remains on the lease. However, our records indicate that she has not been fulfilling her financial obligations. Shall we explore the possibilities together? The bills kept piling up. Utilities she had vowed to take care of. She continued to utilize subscription services, yet had ceased to pay for them. Every act, a subtle treachery, accumulating into a force too significant to overlook. My savings diminished as I filled the voids she created. My last message lingered in silence, untouched. I must contemplate the choices regarding the lease. Kindly reply by Friday if you wish to uphold your financial commitments. Friday arrived and slipped away. Her silence spoke volumes, providing the only answer I sought. Seated at the kitchen table, I found myself immersed in spreadsheets on my laptop, meticulously calculating the financial implications of shouldering the entire lease for the upcoming months. The figures did not inspire optimism. For a time, I could navigate the challenges by reducing my expenses across the board. Yet I knew that such a strategy would ultimately prove untenable. Marcus made his entrance, a box of pizza in hand, placing it carefully on the table before settling into the chair opposite me. To what extent does the situation deteriorate? There are 6 months remaining on the lease. About $15,000 total if I cover everything myself, he murmured, a soft whistle escaping his lips. And yet, there has been no communication from her? Silence envelopes the airwaves. I shut the laptop, a wave of weariness washing over me as I faced the stark reminders of shattered commitments. The property manager outlined the various options available to me. I have the option to continue covering all expenses, seek out a roommate, or uphold the stipulations of the lease agreement. What is the precise meaning of that last one? As Sophia remains legally bound to the lease, they are entitled to issue formal notifications regarding her outstanding share. Should she fail to respond, her possessions will ultimately be cleared from the premises, in accordance with the abandonment clause. As Marcus indulged in a slice of pizza, his mind wandered through a labyrinth of thoughts that appears reasonable. She pledged herself wholeheartedly. Yet, I mentioned, her belongings would be given away or thrown out once the waiting period elapsed, the notion settling like a weight in my heart. Images, literature, all that she abandoned. That responsibility lies with her, not you, Marcus observed. How many times have you attempted to contact her? 12.8 out of 15? I contemplated, weighing the choice carefully in my thoughts. This was not a matter of retribution. The essence of the matter lay in the delineation of boundaries, confronting the truth of the situation, instead of perpetuating a narrative that everything was fleeting, while I faced the repercussions in solitude. I find myself pondering the reasons behind her silence, I remarked. There is an absence I feel keenly. Perhaps, Marcus acknowledged. One must not ignite their own flame to provide warmth for another, particularly when that very person has chosen to depart. The essence of his words took root within me that I found myself in a state of anticipation for answers that never arrived, crafting rationalizations for actions that lacked any real justification. It may have been the most compassionate choice for us both to let the natural course of events take its own shape. Tomorrow, I shall speak with the property manager, I resolved, a peculiar blend of melancholy and determination washing over me. It is time to confront the reality of the present, rather than clinging to the dreams of what might have been. The property manager's office exuded a sense of clinical efficiency, characterized by its clean lines and neutral colors. Ms. Patel gracefully slid the formal notification across her desk, her finger tracing each section as she elucidated the process with clarity. This correspondence shall be dispatched to every contact address we possess for Ms. Hayes. She will be granted a fortnight to reply and organize the payment of her share. If she fails to comply, we will move forward with the process of abandoning her belongings that remain on the premises. I inclined my head, my gaze sweeping over the document. The language felt detached, stripping away the essence of 3 years of marriage to mere tenant obligations and contractual duties. What if she chooses to reply? I inquired. Subsequently, we shall devise a payment plan for the outstanding arrears, allowing her to coordinate the collection of her belongings. Ms. Patel's expression eased just a bit. Typically, individuals tend to react upon receiving an official notification that I inscribed my name in the designated space, my signature marking the commencement of the conclusion. What if she chooses not to? Upon the conclusion of the 14-day period, we shall meticulously catalog and capture images of each item, subsequently organizing their donation to local charitable organizations. Documentation of the entire process will be provided to you. 2 weeks slipped by, silence lingering in the air, with no word from Sophia. I was informed that the formal letter had reached both her workplace and her sister's residence, the very place she had mentioned she would be staying. Yet, there remained silence. On the 15th day, I found myself in my apartment, while 2 staff members from the property management company systematically documented Sophia's forsaken belongings. Beloved books, meticulously chosen garments, cherished family photographs, all diminished to mere entries on a list. The lead staff member shared that they collaborate with Women's Haven to gather clothing and household items, meticulously packing everything into labeled boxes. They assist women in embarking on new beginnings following challenging circumstances. It possessed a distinct elegance, a balance that was hard to ignore. Belongings abandoned by one embarking on a new journey can serve as a beacon for others navigating similar paths. Not annihilation, but metamorphosis. Not a consequence, but a guiding shift. I affixed my signature to the final inventory sheet, thereby acknowledging the removal of all items. Afterward, the apartment carried an unmistakable air of change. More vacant, yet also more pristine. Like the gentle exhalation of a breath that had been held for far too long. A sense of relief washed over the moment as the evening unfolded. An email arrived, bearing the donation receipt. It is now officially recorded that the item Sophia once forsook has discovered a renewed significance. I carefully printed it and tucked it away in its designated place. A chronicle of essential conclusions and the limits that render them achievable. Half a year after Sophia's departure, I found myself in an apartment that at last resonated with a sense of solitary ownership. The void left behind by her possessions had vanished, now adorned with fragments that mirrored solely my decisions. A leather reading chair now claimed the corner that once housed her desk. My photography, a passion rekindled during quiet evenings alone, now graces the walls where family portraits once resided. The stillness transformed, no longer an emptiness, but a serene tranquility. I had crafted new routines. Morning runs on Sunday with Marcus. On Thursday evening, the community center hosts cooking classes. Daily meditation allowed me to engage with the lingering questions that may remain unanswered, rather than pushing them aside. 3 weeks had passed since the divorce papers were finalized. The process unfolded with an unexpected simplicity, especially in light of Sophia's ongoing absence from my life. My attorney had delivered the papers to her at Meridian, the very place she continued to work, even amidst whispers of a crumbling relationship with Ethan. During our final session last week, my therapist noted that I was doing well, superior to what many might achieve following the trials you've endured. The pain had not vanished, not in the least. Instead, it had evolved into something far more beneficial. Perception. The capacity to discern the dissonance between an individual's spoken words and their actions. The bravery to uphold boundaries free from remorse. It is a profound realization to accept that certain questions may linger without resolution, and that acceptance is perfectly fine. This evening, I intended to gather with friends at a newly opened restaurant in the heart of downtown. The first social gathering I had taken the initiative to arrange, rather than simply acquiescing to, since the separation. A modest stride, maybe, yet it resonated with a sense of importance. Life unfolds, thriving rather than merely surviving. The restaurant buzzed with lively conversation and joyous laughter, a setting where tables were arranged in such proximity that unintentional encounters became a certainty. As I arrived ahead of schedule to meet my friends, I found myself nursing a drink at the bar. Suddenly, a glass of red wine toppled over, cascading across the counter and just barely avoiding my sleeve. I sincerely apologize. The woman next to me swiftly reached for the napkins. The bartender jostled my elbow. No harm done, I reassured her, as I took a cloth to wipe up the mess. I believe your wine has met its fate, she chuckled, a true laugh that danced in the creases of her eyes. The perils of enjoying a meal alone amidst the bustling atmosphere of crowded bars. As I dined alone, I inquired, feeling surprisingly at ease in this unplanned exchange. She explained while waiting for a client who was always late. I have discovered the value of carrying a book with me. With a graceful motion, she indicated the novel resting beside her purse. Astute approach. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Daniel. Ava accepted the replacement wine that the bartender had hurriedly provided, responding with a nod. Are you also waiting for someone? I acknowledged my friends with a nod. They remain approximately 20 minutes away. Now you have the opportunity to resolve a discussion. She angled her book in my direction. Should I see this through to the end? I find myself on page 98, still anticipating that moment when it will truly captivate me. I delved into the pages of the literary thriller she had been engrossed in. If it hasn't captured your interest by the 50th page, it likely won't manage to do so at all. Life is far too fleeting for anything less than extraordinary literature. Ava's eyebrows arched in a gesture of admiration. That is precisely what I was seeking. Grant me the liberty to forsake it. Thank you for the narrative forgiveness. After that, our dialogue unfolded effortlessly, weaving through topics of literature, journeys, and our individual professions. She served as a corporate trainer, guiding businesses in enhancing their communication systems. In stark contrast to the cautious dialogues that marked my last days with Sophia, Ava engaged openly, posed inquiries, and genuinely absorbed the responses. My client just canceled, she remarked, glancing at her phone with a sardonic grin. It seems there is a matter at the office that demands urgent consideration. Their loss, I declared, taken aback by my own audacity. Would you care to accompany me and my friends for an evening meal? I assure you they are truly good people. She inclined her head, regarding me with an unforeseen intensity. I would appreciate that, and I would also love to have your number. Perhaps we could arrange a dinner for just the two of us sometime? The clarity was invigorating. Nothing but sincerity, devoid of pretense or ulterior motives. I echoed the sentiment, and my sincerity was unmistakable. After 3 weeks and 4 dates, we found ourselves on my sofa, indulging in takeout while exchanging tales from our days. Being with Ava had a unique quality, a sense of ease and genuine connection. She inquired about Sophia once, listened with an open heart, and then quietly remarked that she had missed the chance to connect with someone who truly comprehends the essence of commitment. In Ava, I discovered a sanctuary of relaxation, where our relationship flourished on the foundations of mutual respect and transparent communication. We advanced with a measured pace, each of us bearing the weight of lessons learned from previous entanglements, neither hurrying nor faltering. After a long time, I experienced a sense of being truly understood instead of just being put up with. On a serene Sunday morning, as Ava and I busied ourselves with breakfast preparations in my kitchen, the notification made its entrance. The unmistakable ping of my phone barely penetrated my thoughts until my gaze fell upon the screen, revealing the name I had deliberately erased from my contacts months prior. Sophia. I placed the coffee pot on the counter, my hand trembling unexpectedly. Is everything all right? Ava inquired, her gaze fixed on my face, observing the shift in my expression. It's Sophia, I murmured, the name tasting unfamiliar on my tongue after such a long time. She had just sent me a message. Ava's knife hovered above the avocado she was in the midst of slicing. After all this time, what is it that she desires? As I opened the message, a creeping sense of dread unfurled within me, each word on the screen amplifying the tension in the air. Daniel, I must speak with you. The conclusion of my time with Ethan was far from pleasant. He is not the person I believed him to be. I committed a grave error, and I sincerely apologize. Would it be possible for us to arrange a meeting? I passed the phone to Ava, observing her face as she absorbed the message, her features transforming from intrigue to worry. Are you going to respond? She inquired, placing the phone back on the counter with a cautiousness that suggested it might retaliate. Another part believes it no longer holds significance. Just as expected, another message materialized. I understand that I may not have the standing to inquire, given my past actions, But fear grips me. Daniel, that Ethan's fury simmers beneath the surface, a tempest waiting to erupt. His moods as capricious as the wind. I'm at a loss for what steps to take next. Ava's gaze locked onto mine. That raises some worries. Indeed, I concurred. The burden of responsibility that I was weary of bearing settled heavily upon my shoulders. Yet, I am acutely aware that Sophia has a flair for the dramatic when circumstances do not align with her desires. A third message made its entrance. I find myself once more at my sister's abode. Ethan is aware of her residence. I feel a sense of unease. Do you believe she is truly at risk? Ava inquired. Her voice measured, and even I gazed at the screen, attempting to distinguish true worry from the residual ache of treachery. I find myself at a crossroads, unable to turn a blind eye to the possibility that she could be in a precarious situation. What occupies your thoughts? Ava's inquiry was soft, devoid of any criticism. I resolved that a response was necessary. Advise her to reach out to the authorities should she feel any sense of threat. Establish distinct boundaries regarding personal involvement. As I crafted a carefully considered reply, I sensed the delicate tranquility of the past few months abruptly at risk, not solely due to Sophia's unforeseen re-entry into my world, but also because of the tangled emotions her words evoked. The trepidation that in recognizing her existence, I could be unsealing a portal that is wiser to keep shut. Sent, I remarked, setting the phone down on the counter with its screen facing the surface. Last. We complete the task of preparing breakfast and endeavor to reclaim our Sunday. Ava's grip tightened around my hand, her unwavering support resonating in the quiet between us. We resumed our cooking, yet the light-hearted ambience had dissipated, supplanted by an unvoiced strain, the past looming over the present, just as I believed I had finally emerged into the brightness. A solitary message on a Sunday morning blossomed into a continuous flow in the weeks that followed. Initially, Sophia's messages carried an air of composure, interweaving apologies with ambiguous hints about her difficulties with Ethan. I understand that my actions have caused you great pain. I simply seek a soul who comprehends. Ethan is spreading falsehoods about me in the workplace. Silence envelopes the words, as if they are destined to fade into the void. Unheard and unacknowledged. My mind wanders to the myriad of ways life might have unfolded had I chosen to stay. I replied succinctly, providing fundamental guidance on workplace harassment protocols and recommending professional resources for further assistance. With each instance, I defined my boundaries with greater clarity. I empathize with your situation, yet my ability to assist is limited to this piece of guidance. It seems prudent to restrict our exchanges. I have progressed in my journey. I kindly ask for your understanding regarding my new relationship. Yet the messages grew more insistent, flooding in at all hours, during work meetings, over dinner with Ava, and even in the stillness of the night. The tone evolved from one of remorse to a growing sense of urgency, ultimately turning confrontational. You often promised that you would stand by my side. Could that have been untruthful? Yesterday, I spotted you and her at the cafe. Have you already found someone to take my place? Is it really true that after 3 years of marriage, you won't even engage in conversation with me? Ava observed the tension it was generating. Your phone keeps lighting up, she remarked one evening as we busied ourselves in the kitchen, preparing dinner. Once more, it's her. Isn't it? I nodded, presenting her with the most recent message, a convoluted paragraph detailing how Ethan had turned everyone against her, claiming that I was the sole person who understood the true essence of who she was. Ava noted the decline, her brow knitting in concern. Have you thought about cutting off her number? Just as I was about to respond, a fresh notification emerged, not on my device, but on Ava's. We stood still, our eyes locked onto the screen. Ava spoke softly, lifting her phone to reveal a message request from her. How on earth did she manage to locate me? The communication was straightforward, yet it sent a shiver down the spine. Eventually, he will grow weary of you as well. Inquire with him regarding Chicago. 3 years prior, I embarked on a solitary business trip to Chicago, a journey that led Sophia to harbor unfounded suspicions of my infidelity, despite the absence of any proof. An entirely concocted allegation for which she ultimately expressed remorse, Yet now it has been turned into a weapon against my new relationship. The breach of Ava's personal sanctuary shifted my irritation into a profound worry. This had transcended the realm of my own post-divorce interactions. It revolved around safeguarding someone dear to me from being swept away in the turmoil of Sophia's personal crisis. On the Tuesday morning that followed, as we both prepared for our workday, Ava's phone began to ring. The conversation spanned a mere 5 minutes, yet her demeanor shifted from bewilderment to astonishment, ultimately settling into a composed fury. "That was Marissa from HR," she remarked after the call ended, her tone deliberately controlled. An anonymous email was dispatched to the entire executive team, insinuating that I have been misrepresenting my training certification credentials, that I placed my coffee cup on the table. "Sophia." Ava nodded with a somber expression. The email contained information regarding my past employment, the dates of my certifications, and even brought up our relationship as a possible conflict of interest with a client that, in reality, does not exist. "This is utterly outrageous," I exclaimed, my frustration mounting. "She is now launching an assault on your professional reputation." Fortunately, Marissa is perceptive enough to question it right away, Ava explained, as she swiftly gathered her belongings with practiced precision. "However, I must arrive early to tackle this issue before it escalates. The executive team is inundated with hundreds of emails each day. There are those who may focus solely on the accusation, neglecting to consider the subsequent retraction. What options lie before me?" I inquired, my hand instinctively moving toward my phone. Ava replied with unwavering certainty, "Nothing yet. I will take care of the professional aspects initially. I must meticulously record every detail and arrange a meeting with the legal team." I drove Ava to her office, the air thick with tension as she made calls, readying herself for the unexpected meetings ahead. This had transcended mere harassment. It was a calculated effort to undermine Ava's professional reputation, her very means of sustenance. An email arrived from an untraceable source. Ava called me from her office after her first meeting to report back. However, it pinpointed the login to an IP address associated with Meridian Technologies. At Sophia's workplace, I found the pieces aligning perfectly. Ava continued, inquiring whether we intend to seek a restraining order, as our legal team is eager for clarity on the matter. It is essential for them to understand the official documentation they can anticipate concerning this situation. "A restraining order," I echoed. The words resonate with an intensity that feels both overwhelming and unexpectedly essential. "Is that truly your desire, Daniel?" Ava's voice took on a gentler tone. Her intensity is increasing. Initially, it was personal messages, followed by social media, and now it has infiltrated my workplace. What lies ahead? This will not cease of its own accord. When Ava made her way back that evening, the professional landscape had found its equilibrium. The company had provided internal clarifications, while the legal team meticulously preserved all evidence. Yet, the harm inflicted upon her sense of security was irrevocable. "I never imagined I would find myself here," she confessed, as we lounged on the couch, the remnants of our takeout dinner scattered across the coffee table that lay between us. "Finding myself in a position where I must defend my honor against an individual I have yet to encounter." Apologies escaped my lips, the burden of responsibility pressing heavily upon my heart. "This is unfolding as a consequence of my actions, a reflection of my history." "No," Ava said firmly, grasping my hand. "This situation arises from the decisions made by an individual that inflict pain upon others. You bear no responsibility for her choices." Her words sliced through my guilt with their unadorned honesty. While I bore no responsibility for the choices made by Sophia, I held the weight of my own reactions to them. That evening, we found ourselves at my kitchen table, a legal pad laid out between us, brimming with notes from our individual days. Ava had conferred with the legal counsel of her company. I had initiated initial conversations with a family attorney who focused on protective orders. The attorney I consulted indicated that we possessed sufficient grounds for a civil protection order. I elaborated as I sifted through my notes. The sequence of increasing communication, the unfounded allegations directed at your place of employment, the veiled menaces, each element contributes to a compelling narrative of harassment. Ava nodded, her expression contemplative. The legal team at my company echoed the same sentiment. They stand ready to furnish documentation regarding the email incident. Yet, I noticed your hesitation, a reflection of the turmoil in your eyes that echoed my own inner struggle. She confessed that a part of her fears this might only intensify the situation, heighten her sense of urgency. I've been pondering that as well, I replied, considering whether pursuing legal action could potentially exacerbate the situation. Yet, I find myself returning to the same realization. She is already intensifying the situation independently. In the absence of defined limits, at what point does it conclude? For a brief moment, we were enveloped in silence, the gravity of the choice suspended in the air around us. There is another matter, I finally confessed, something I have hesitated to confront. What if she truly finds herself entangled in a predicament with Ethan? What if there exists a genuine issue that goes deeper than merely seeking attention? Ava inquired, do you believe her claims about him could hold any truth? I'm uncertain. However, if that is the case, and she is truly in a fragile state at the moment, perhaps pursuing a formal legal process would ultimately ensure safety for all involved. IT establishes a framework, provides clarity, and enforces accountability. Ava extended her hand across the table, enveloping mine in a gentle grasp. This is not a matter of retribution for her. It revolves around setting boundaries that safeguard everyone involved, her included, in the end. Her words captured the essence of my unspoken emotions, giving voice to what I had struggled to express. This was neither retribution for Sophia's treachery nor a consequence for her harassment. It was a matter of establishing essential frameworks when casual limits had proven inadequate. Thus, we move forward with the protection order, I declared, the resolution solidifying into unwavering conviction. Indeed, Ava concurred. The break of dawn tomorrow. In the morning, I shall reach out to the attorney once more, I declared, as I meticulously gathered the notes into a folder. He indicated the necessity for documentation of all contact attempts, so I shall gather everything this evening, while I meticulously arranged the evidence of Sophia's increasingly erratic behavior. A surprising sense of tranquility washed over me. It was no longer the passive acceptance I had displayed when she initially requested a break. Instead, it was the unwavering determination that arises from choosing a challenging path for the right reasons. Safeguarding, rather than retribution. Establish limits, not retribution. The way ahead was unmistakable, though the road would undoubtedly be challenging. The county courthouse stood before us, its stone facade exuding an air of solemnity that starkly contrasted with the tumult of emotions that had brought us to this moment. Ava and I encountered our attorney, Rachel Klein, on the steps. She was a woman in her 50s, exuding a calm and assured presence that instantly set my mind at rest. As she led us through security, Rachel remarked that she had reviewed all the documentation we sent. The text messages, social media interactions, and particularly the incidents of workplace harassment collectively build a compelling case for a protective order. We trailed behind her into a serene conference room, where she unfurled an array of forms across the table. Rachel explained that a civil protection order necessitates proof of a behavioral pattern that would instill fear for one's safety or lead to considerable emotional distress in a reasonable person. The documentation you have provided aligns with that standard. I delved into the documents, the legal jargon reshaping Sophia's unpredictable actions into clinical classifications. Harassment, stalking, credible threat. The journey commences with this petition, Rachel elaborated, gesturing towards the main document. It is essential to provide a thorough account of the particular incidents, including dates and the nature of the harassment. Focus on the facts, emphasizing only the observable actions. While completing the forms, I experienced a moment of hesitation regarding specific details. The act of donating Sophia's abandoned belongings, for example, would, in that context, render this more retaliatory than protective. Make sure to include all the important details, Rachel suggested, observing my uncertainty. The judge requires the full context. This is not a matter of retribution. It revolves around setting the right boundaries as we move ahead. Ava settled next to me, her hand finding mine now and then, offering a gentle squeeze as I recorded every occurrence. The harassment she faced at work necessitated a separate addendum, accompanied by formal statements from her HR department. What unfolds once we submit our filing? I inquired. Today, the court is set to deliberate on the petition. Upon approval, a temporary order shall take effect without delay, and a hearing date will be established within a fortnight. Sophia shall receive notification regarding both the temporary order and the scheduled hearing date. And if she violates the temporary order, Ava inquired, does that turn into a criminal matter? Rachel clarified, yes, it does. It is essential to meticulously record any attempts at contact following the issuance of the order. An hour later, we found ourselves at the clerk's window, where our petition was officially submitted, the stack of papers vanishing into a mechanism crafted to convert personal turmoil into structured resolution. Now we wait, Rachel remarked as we stepped out of the courthouse. I will reach out to you promptly once the judge has rendered a decision regarding the temporary order. As we strolled toward the parking lot, an unexpected lightness washed over me. Not quite happiness, but rather the soothing relief that comes from taking deliberate action instead of passively enduring the mounting intrusions. We opted for safeguarding rather than inaction, establishing limits instead of harboring resentment. The following morning, while I was immersed in my work, Rachel's call came through. The judge, she revealed, granted the temporary protection order. Yet there's an additional detail you ought to be aware of. As I entered the vacant conference room, a sense of solitude enveloped me, offering the privacy I sought. What could it be? Upon filing your petition, a flag was triggered in the system. Rachel explained. An additional active case has emerged concerning Ethan Reeves. My fingers clenched around the phone. What type of case are we discussing? 3 weeks ago, another woman, Jessica Winters, sought protection against him. She is employed at Meridian Technologies as well. The information arrived like a long-lost puzzle piece finally uncovered. Do you believe there is a link to Sophia's behavior? I can't say for certain, but the timing does pique my interest, Rachel replied. Miss Winters' petition outlines a narrative of manipulation and intimidation that unfolded following her decision to terminate their relationship. In her account, she reveals that they were involved for a short period while he was still in a relationship with another woman, whom she refers to as his main girlfriend. Sophia, I whispered softly. That seems to be my assumption, Rachel concurred. Additionally, my colleague, who is managing Ms. Winters' case, shared that during their preparation for her hearing, she disclosed that Ethan had displayed private photos of a former girlfriend as a means of intimidation when she attempted to end their relationship. The suggestion lingered in the air, unspoken yet unmistakable. Coercion. Compulsion. Is there a method to confirm whether Sophia was indeed the woman depicted in those photographs? I inquired, my thoughts swirling with unsettling prospects. No, not directly. That would necessitate Sophia's collaboration, Rachel remarked. Yet, it could shed light on her unpredictable actions. If she finds herself ensnared in Ethan's manipulations or blackmail, all while uncovering his infidelity, a perfect storm would brew, I concluded, reflecting on Sophia's frantic messages regarding Ethan's true nature, her sense of unease palpable in every word. Rachel stated with conviction, this does not justify her harassment of you and Ava. However, it could offer some valuable context. Once the call concluded, I found myself seated in the conference room, grappling with the weight of this newfound information. Should Ethan have been orchestrating the emotions of several women, wielding intimate material as a tool of influence, Sophia's escalating desperation would reveal a more complex layer to her actions. Not entirely justified, yet perhaps more understandable. For months, I had regarded Sophia exclusively as my adversary. I found myself pondering the possibility that she could also be ensnared in the clutches of another's torment. The understanding did not diminish the necessity for boundaries. It served to underscore that established frameworks could very well be the most secure path for all parties concerned. As I stepped out of the conference room, my determination had only deepened. The protection order had evolved beyond merely safeguarding Ava and me. It was about creating well-defined, documented boundaries that could ultimately safeguard Sophia as well. The hearing room was more compact than I had anticipated, exuding an air of administration rather than that of a courtroom. A court officer guided us to a table positioned before the judge's bench, as Rachel meticulously organized our documents in an exact sequence. The provisional decree had remained effective for a span of 12 days, all without any occurrences to report. Sophia had been delivered to her sister's address and had not reached out to either Ava or me since that time. That I surveyed the room with a sense of unease, half anticipating the sight of Sophia, yet Rachel had clarified that participants frequently chose not to show up at these hearings. "All rise," the court officer proclaimed as Judge Rivera made her entrance. An elderly woman, her hair adorned with silver streaks, sits with reading glasses delicately balanced on her nose. The hearing unfolded with a measured precision. Rachel put forth our petition, detailing the evidence of harassment alongside Ava's workplace incident. Judge Rivera meticulously examined the documentation, pausing now and then to pose insightful questions for clarification. Mr. Hayes, she inquired at last, what prompts you to seek this order now, after several months of the behavior you've described? Initially, we attempted to establish some casual boundaries, I elaborated. However, when the harassment intensified to the point of undermining my girlfriend's professional reputation, it became clear that we needed to pursue more formal measures. The judge inclined his head, jotting down a note. "So, there has been no communication since the temporary order was issued?" "None, Your Honor." Following a series of additional inquiries, Judge Rivera placed her notes aside. "Upon reviewing the evidence provided, I conclude that there is adequate justification to issue a civil protection order for a duration of 1 year. This order will prohibit Sophia Hayes from making any direct or indirect contact with either petitioner, encompassing communication via social media or through intermediaries. Additionally, she is mandated to keep a distance of no less than 500 feet from both petitioners and their places of employment." A wave of relief enveloped me. The official declaration brought forth a clarity that casual limits could never achieve. "Thank you, Your Honor," Rachel remarked as we assembled our materials. Outside the courthouse, Ava enveloped me in a warm embrace. "It is finished," she murmured. "It feels peculiar," I confessed. "Essential, yet undeniably peculiar." As we made our way to the parking lot, a sudden vibration from my phone caught my attention, signaling a new notification. Even after erasing Sophia from my contacts, her email address struck a familiar chord within me. The subject line was straightforward: "Important about Ethan." I presented my work to Ava, and she frowned in response. "In a technical sense, reaching out via email breaches the order. I understand," I concurred. "However, you might be pondering whether it connects to what your attorney mentioned regarding the other case, as Ava concluded for me, concerning the potential blackmail." I sat in silence, my gaze fixed on the notification, hesitating to delve into the contents of the email. Ava proposed with a sense of practicality. "If she's in any sort of danger, we should reach out to Rachel first. Discover the appropriate method to address this matter, ensuring that the essence of the directive remains intact." As we made our way back to the courthouse to consult with our attorney, an undeniable sensation washed over me. One that suggested we had closed the door on one chapter, only to unveil the opening of another. One that could unveil a narrative far removed from the one I believed I understood. The email lay untouched, its contents waiting in silence. A digital Schrodinger's cat, embodying either a deeper manipulation or a truth I was not yet ready to confront. The boundaries we had set would endure, regardless of the circumstances. A structure for all that was to follow. In the cozy confines of our apartment, I settled at the kitchen table, my laptop aglow before me, with Ava seated beside me. Rachel informed us that although replying directly to the email would breach the protective order, we were permitted to read it without engaging in further communication. Should it hold pertinent details regarding possible criminal conduct, it would be prudent to relay it to the authorities instead of intervening directly. "Are you prepared?" Ava inquired. Her grip firm upon my arm, I inclined my head and clicked open the email. "It has commenced, Daniel. I recognize that reaching out to you directly is not an option due to the protection order, a reality I fully comprehend and accept. This message is intended for forwarding to the appropriate authorities, not for the purpose of rekindling communication with you. Ethan has been coercing me with intimate photos and videos captured throughout our relationship. This all started soon after he came back to town, when I found out he was dating at least 2 other women at Meridian at the same time. As I faced him and attempted to walk away, he issued a chilling threat to share the material with my family, friends, and co-workers. In my desperation and instability, I clung to the notion that my only safeguard lay in preserving my connection with him, all the while searching for the devices that held the material. This is the reason behind my erratic behavior towards you and Ava. Each day, I found myself ensnared in a web of manipulation, living in constant dread of being exposed. I have come to understand that he has perpetrated this against at least 3 other women. Among them, Jessica has likewise sought protection that I pen these words to declare my intention to testify against him, come what may. David Morales, the detective assigned to Jessica's case, is part of the county's Special Victims Unit. The email concluded with the detective's contact details and a straightforward closing line: I apologize for all that has transpired. While this may not justify my actions, I trust it offers some clarity. I gazed at the screen, a tumultuous blend of feelings cascading through me. The explanation resonated with Rachel's previous findings regarding the other case, thereby enhancing its credibility. However, the years of shattered trust rendered full acceptance a challenging endeavor. What are your thoughts on this? At long last, I posed the question to Ava. She pondered the email with great care. The situation aligns with the pattern your attorney pointed out, and the inclusion of the detective's information, rather than a direct request for you to reach out to her, indicates a respect for established boundaries. I concurred, indeed. She seeks neither reconciliation nor forgiveness. Rather, she offers information pertinent to a possible criminal case. What actions will you take? Ava inquired. I resolved to send it to Rachel first. Let us ascertain the detective's involvement before we move forward with our plans. While crafting the email to our attorney, I couldn't help but ponder the swift changes that can occur in the stories of our lives. For months, I had viewed Sophia merely as a figure of betrayal and harassment in my life. A more intricate tableau was beginning to take shape. A narrative in which she embodies both the perpetrator and the prey, her deeds unforgivable, yet perhaps influenced by external forces. This does not alter the necessity for the protection order, I remarked, lost in contemplation. Ava nodded in agreement, her response clear and unwavering. One can uphold boundaries while simultaneously championing justice. Those two concepts can coexist harmoniously. Her insight clarified my own reflections. The protective order was not intended as a form of punishment. It revolved around the establishment of a secure framework. Within that framework, there might exist the possibility for an alternative form of justice to emerge. Detective David Morales possessed a calm composure, a reflection of a man who had witnessed the depths of human depravity and the heights of its resilience. In a modest conference room at the police station, we gathered, with Rachel there to safeguard the integrity of our dialogue within the confines of the law. Thank you for sharing this information, Morales remarked after examining the forwarded email. I can indeed confirm that I am looking into several allegations concerning Ethan Reeves, one of which involves Jessica Winters. Are Sophia's allegations of blackmail in alignment with your findings? Rachel inquired in a measured tone. Morales responded, taking care not to reveal any confidential aspects of the ongoing investigation. It is evident that we have recorded a troubling pattern of behavior characterized by the manipulative use of intimate images to exert control over several women. I acknowledged this affirmation, allowing it to sink in. What unfolds next? Sophia hinted at the possibility of taking the stand. Morales elaborated on the matter, stating that they are constructing a case for potential criminal charges, including blackmail, coercion, and possibly the distribution of intimate images without consent. The testimony of victims holds immense significance in cases of this nature, particularly when numerous individuals can collectively illustrate a discernible pattern. Could Sophia's harassment towards us undermine her credibility as a witness? Rachel inquired. Morales recognized that it adds layers of complexity to the situation. However, her revelation regarding the situation ultimately bolsters the overall case. The narrative unveils the far-reaching consequences of such coercion, illustrating how victims may find themselves ensnared in a web of harmful behaviors, driven by manipulation and fear. He faced me head-on. Mr. Hayes, I acknowledge that you possess a protective order against your ex-wife, which is required to stay in effect. Would you be open to offering a statement regarding the timing and nature of her behavioral changes? This may aid in delineating the timeline of when the coercion commenced. I cast a fleeting look at Rachel, who offered a slight nod. I concurred, provided it doesn't necessitate any direct interaction with Sophia. Morales emphatically denied it. All testimony will be submitted independently, and the protective order will be diligently upheld during the entire process. What of the evidence itself? Rachel inquired, the personal material he's wielding for blackmail. According to Morales, our cybercrime unit is diligently engaged in the task of locating and securing every copy. We have already carried out search warrants on multiple devices. Yet these cases present significant challenges. Digital content finds its home in various realms, notably within the expansive embrace of cloud services. As the meeting unfolded, Detective Morales delineated the investigation process with meticulous clarity, while I grappled with the dawning realization that Ethan's deceit had ensnared victims far beyond Sophia. His manipulation of intimate trust transcended mere personal betrayal. It revealed a deliberate strategy of control and damage. Morales concluded, stating, "We require your formal statement within the next week, and I will ensure that your attorney is kept informed of any developments pertinent to your situation." Upon our departure from the police station, an unusual sense of clarity washed over me. The necessity of the protective order against Sophia persisted. Her actions, irrespective of the underlying motivation, had inflicted genuine harm. Yet, grasping the wider context enabled me to perceive the situation with greater subtlety, distinguishing the boundary violations from their intricate roots. The conference room at Rachel's law office transformed into our strategic hub, with papers and documents artfully scattered across the table. Rachel extended an invitation to Detective Morales to join our gathering, accompanied by Assistant District Attorney Elena Martinez, the one poised to prosecute the case against Ethan should charges be brought forth. Drawing from the evidence collected thus far, Martinez commenced, "We are poised to file charges against Ethan Reeves for multiple counts of blackmail, coercion, and the non-consensual distribution of intimate images. The accounts from numerous victims establish a compelling basis." "What is our place in this?" Ava inquired. Martinez clarified that there is no need for you to testify about the harassment directly. Daniel's assertion regarding the timeline serves to illuminate the recurring theme of coercion. Sophia's demeanor shifted dramatically following Ethan's return, coinciding with the emergence of threats. Rachel inclined her head in agreement. A written statement has been crafted to convey the pertinent information while upholding the integrity of the protective order. In light of our discussion, I emphasize that we must be unequivocal in our stance. While we stand behind the prosecution, it is imperative that the protective order against Sophia remains intact. Morales affirmed with complete understanding. The protection order fulfills a specific role. Backing the broader argument does not necessitate direct interaction between you and Sophia. Martinez noted that, indeed, upholding those distinct boundaries reinforces the overall argument. It illustrates that actions bear consequences, even when shaped by coercion. For the following hour, we meticulously crafted a unified strategy. I shall present my written account detailing the sequence of events. Rachel would collaborate with the prosecutor to guarantee that all evidence transfers occurred via the appropriate channels. The protective order shall remain in effect, with all essential communications directed through legal counsel. As we wrapped up, Morales pointed out one final consideration. Should this matter proceed to trial, it is possible that you will find yourselves in the courtroom concurrently with Sophia and Ethan, albeit with seating arranged to ensure a respectful distance between all parties involved. Ava's voice remained steady as she assured, "We can manage that, provided the boundaries are well defined." As the meeting drew to a close, I couldn't help but ponder the peculiar journey that had brought us to this moment. Half a year ago, I had agreed to a pause that fractured my existence. I found myself engaged in the construction of a case aimed at safeguarding numerous women from an individual who wielded intimacy as a tool of manipulation. "This feels right," I said to Ava as we stepped out of the office. "Upholding justice while steadfastly maintaining our boundaries. As you mentioned during our initial conversation about the protective order," she responded. "It revolves around safeguarding rather than retribution. It is quite ironic that by upholding these boundaries, we may indeed be assisting Sophia in a more meaningful way than if we attempted to intervene directly," I noted. As we journeyed home, it dawned on me that upholding boundaries was not merely about erecting barriers. It was about crafting a framework in which healing and justice could harmoniously coexist. The protective order stands as an essential foundation for our safety and tranquility. Yet, within that structure, we could still champion a process that may ultimately liberate Sophia and others from a distinct form of violation. Not by means of direct rescue or intervention, but rather through the unwavering defense of truth and the diligent pursuit of justice. The courthouse corridor thrummed with life as I stood alongside Rachel, awaiting our turn outside courtroom C. Today marked the day of Sophia's anticipated testimony in the proceedings against Ethan Reeves. Although my attendance wasn't mandatory, Detective Morales recommended that my presence could offer valuable context for the judge, provided I adhered to the necessary distance outlined by the protective order. "Keep in mind," Rachel murmured softly, "you'll be sitting in the back row. Sophia shall make her entrance through a distinct door, offering her testimony without the necessity of coming close to you." I nodded, observing Ada Martinez as she drew near, a folder of documents in hand. "Mr. Hayes," she said, offering a polite greeting, "I appreciate your presence." Sophia made her entrance 20 minutes prior and is currently situated in a distinct waiting area. She has been made aware of the seating arrangements and comprehends that the protective order is still in full force. The heavy courtroom doors swung open, and we stepped inside in an orderly procession. I settled into my seat at the back, just as I had been told, with Rachel sitting next to me. The room exuded a quiet reverence, a setting where significant truths were exchanged, adorned in rich dark wood and subdued hues. As Sophia stepped through the side door, accompanied by a victim advocate, I hardly recognized her. Half a year had reshaped her, not merely in appearance, with her hair cropped and her visage more angular, but also in the way she carried herself. The desperate instability I had previously observed was now a thing of the past. What emerged was a presence that was subdued, more restrained, yet possessed an undeniable strength. With unwavering resolve, she took the oath, her voice firm as she vowed to uphold the truth. Martinez guided her through the initial inquiries, carefully mapping out her connection to Ethan and the sequence of occurrences. At what point did the blackmail commence? Martinez inquired. It was 3 weeks after our paths had crossed once more that Sophia finally responded. Upon realizing he was involved with other women at work and attempting to terminate the relationship, she recounted the increasing dominance Ethan had imposed through threats of sharing private images. Her tone was steady, yet her hands clutched the rail of the witness stand tightly. At that moment, "Did you confide in anyone regarding these threats?" "No," Sophia replied. "Shame enveloped me. I believed I could manage it on my own by locating and removing the images." "What has transformed?" Martinez inquired. Sophia's eyes were steadfastly directed ahead, never once glancing in my direction. "At work, I encountered Jessica Winters. It dawned on us that we were both under the influence of the same manipulator. In that moment, I realized it extended beyond my own experience. It was a recurring theme, a cycle that would persist for others unless we found the courage to voice our concerns." Her testimony unfolded with meticulous detail, recounting dates, explicit threats, and efforts to appease Ethan while seeking the damning evidence. Amidst the turmoil, she upheld a grace that resonated with a profound understanding forged through struggle. As Ethan's defense attorney engaged in cross-examination, striving to portray her harassment of me as a sign of unreliability, she stood her ground without wavering. "Indeed, I have dispatched those messages. I pursued my ex-husband and his girlfriend relentlessly. In a moment of sheer desperation and overwhelming fear, I found myself acting in ways that I cannot justify. I chose to accept the protective order without contest. It was both essential and fitting." As Sophia was led from the courtroom through that familiar side door, I couldn't help but ponder the intricate web of harm, how it weaves its way through relationships, turning victims into unsuspecting perpetrators, and ultimately, if fortune allows, culminating in a revelation of truth. Today, the prosecution summoned its 5th witness to the stand. A week later, Rachel revealed the news, scattering photographs across her office table. Though these women have never crossed paths, their narratives unfold in strikingly similar ways. The images depicted 5 women, each distinct in their appearance, yet bound together by their association with Ethan Reeves. Among them was Jessica Winters, the name we had first encountered, and Sophia, whose testimony I had personally observed. The group also included Megan Chan, a software developer, Elise Weber, an administrative assistant, and Tara Rodriguez, a data analyst, all hailing from Meridian Technologies. Each woman recounts a similar narrative. Rachel continued, beginning with initial allure, followed by a growing dominance, the revelation of his entanglements with others, efforts to escape, and ultimately coercion through the use of private images. 5 women, Ava murmured. And those are merely the ones who have stepped into the light. Detective Morales inclined his head, a somber expression etched across his face. From the digital evidence retrieved from Reeves' devices, it is our belief that there could be additional findings. Folders were discovered, each holding images of no fewer than 8 distinct women. Has he been engaging with the witnesses? I inquired. Martinez responded, noting his unexpected calmness in court. The attorney is concentrating on efforts to dismiss digital evidence instead of directly challenging credibility. Morales remarked that it isn't functioning. The cyber unit has meticulously established a chain of custody for all recovered materials. With 5 distinct victim testimonies revealing identical patterns, the digital evidence takes on a role that feels almost secondary. What resonated deeply with me regarding the case was not merely Ethan's calculated predation, but the remarkable bravery of the women who came forward, undeterred by the personal sacrifices they faced. Each had weathered the initial manipulation as well as the subsequent public scrutiny of stepping into the light. Each had opted for honesty rather than shielding themselves from humiliation. Martinez observed that the women have been uplifting one another throughout the journey, almost as if she could sense my unspoken thoughts. That an informal network has emerged, uniting individuals to coordinate their court attendance, ensuring that no one must navigate these proceedings in solitude. Ava inquired, including Sophia, the inquiry for which I had yet to articulate my thoughts. Indeed, Martinez has provided confirmation. In spite of the protective order that keeps her apart from you, she has taken on the role of a coordinator for the others. As the pioneer in recognizing the pattern, she has taken it upon herself to guide the newer witnesses through the intricacies of the process. I lingered over this information, contemplating its deeper meanings. The woman who had once tormented us in her frantic desperation was now guiding others as they sought their own journeys toward justice. The necessity of the protective order between us persisted. The fabric of our relationship lay in tatters, beyond the reach of repair. Yet within this distinct realm, a profound healing was taking place. What unfolds next? I inquired. Tomorrow, Martinez explained, the prosecution will rest its case. Subsequently, the defense articulates their perspective. Considering the evidence and testimony presented thus far, we hold a hopeful outlook for the outcome. As the meeting drew to a close, I found myself contemplating the nature of justice, not as a singular, climactic event, but as a collective of voices slowly piecing together truth from shards of difficult experiences. The unique narrative of each woman, though compelling in its own right, found its true depth and meaning when woven together with others, unveiling a tapestry that transcended any solitary tale. What started as a personal betrayal evolved into an acknowledgement of widespread harm and the possibility of collective healing. It was a Tuesday evening, the aroma of dinner wafting through the air, when the call arrived, interrupting the calm between Ava and me. As Rachel's name lit up my phone screen, I answered, ensuring the speakerphone was on so that Ava could listen in. Daniel. Ava, Rachel began, her voice imbued with the calm triumph of a hard-won success. I felt it was important for you to receive this message firsthand. Ethan Reeves found himself in handcuffs this afternoon, following the jury's unanimous guilty verdicts on every count against him. I placed the knife, which had been busy slicing through the vibrant vegetables, onto the cutting board and shared a meaningful glance with Ava. Every single count? I reverberated. Rachel confirmed the acts of blackmail, coercion, unlawful surveillance, and the non-consensual distribution of intimate images. The judge, in a decisive move, revoked bail while awaiting sentencing, highlighting the troubling pattern of manipulation and the potential for witness intimidation. What type of sentence captures his attention? Ava inquired. Martinez posits that a span of 4 to 7 years is appropriate, considering the numerous victims and the calculated nature of the offenses. Rachel responded. The sentencing is set to take place next month. Once the call ended, Ava and I lingered in a brief stillness, absorbing the weight of the news. The justice we had worked to uphold was achieved, not through personal conflict or retribution, but through the diligent workings of a system crafted to reveal the truth. It feels peculiar, I finally remarked, turning my attention back to the vegetables, a conclusion that feels more like a pause than a finale. Ava nodded, her comprehension evident as ever. For it does not erase the past. Rather, it establishes a sense of responsibility. Precisely. Though I find solace in the fact that he poses no threat to others at this moment, my mind lingers on the countless women, contemplating the weight of their ongoing struggles. We glided through the kitchen, finishing dinner preparations in the familiar harmony we had cultivated. The news regarding Ethan brought a semblance of closure, yet it coexisted with the persistent reality of our lives. Existences intricately molded by the dual forces of treachery and the reactions it incited. As the evening unfolded and we settled onto the balcony, the sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a warm glow around us. It was then that Ava finally voiced the question that had lingered in the air, unarticulated, yet palpable between us. Have you ever pondered the fate that awaits Sophia following all these events? Will she be all right? I pondered this thoughtfully. I finally expressed my hope that she finds healing. Not for my benefit, but for hers. The issuance of the protective order was essential. Her actions inflicted genuine harm, irrespective of the circumstances. Yet, I do not desire for her to endure further pain. That's one of the things I adore about you, Ava said, clasping my hand. Your ability to embrace both limits and empathy within a single contemplation. Her words brought clarity to a thought I had yet to express, even to my own mind. The path from that initial acceptance to this very moment has revealed to me that boundaries are not barriers meant to inflict punishment. These were edifices that fostered an environment of safety while simultaneously opening doors to new opportunities. The official notice of Ethan's sentencing was delivered via email the subsequent month. 6 years, with the prospect of parole after 4. A note from Detective Morales was included in the message. Every victim has been informed. Your eloquent statement played a crucial role in shaping the timeline that bolstered their testimony. Justice prevailed as individuals embraced truth rather than succumbed to silence. As I conveyed the news to Ava, it dawned on me that we had come to the conclusion of one chapter, not via grand clashes or tidy conclusions, but through the diligent practice of honesty and the careful establishment of limits. Whatever unfolded thereafter would rise upon that very foundation. 1 year following Ethan's sentencing, Ava and I found ourselves seated on the balcony of our new apartment, gazing at the sunset as it brushed the sky with hues of amber and rose. The protective order against Sophia had lapsed the month prior, yet neither of us had encountered her or received any communication from her directly. Through our shared connections, we discovered that she had relocated to a new city in pursuit of a fresh beginning. A realization that resonated deeply within me. How peculiar, I remarked, as I rotated my wine glass gently in my grasp. When Sophia first expressed her desire for a break, I simply replied with a "okay," as I found myself at a loss for words. Little did I know that one solitary word would herald the start of an extraordinary journey. Ava rested against my shoulder, her presence a comforting warmth, unwavering and steadfast. Do you believe your response would change now, given your current understanding? I pondered this with care. I would still respond affirmatively, yet with a newfound comprehension that I end those days, it was a matter of quiet acquiescence. It has become clear to me that, at times, the most dignified response to circumstances beyond our control is simply to accept that everything is okay. Ava remarked, "You've imparted a valuable lesson to me through all of this. Boundaries are not barriers erected to inflict punishment upon others. These are frameworks that foster an environment conducive to healing for all participants." Incorporating the individual who had initially transgressed against them, I reflected on how the legal boundaries we had set in place had ultimately safeguarded Sophia as well, providing her with a structure to break free from manipulation and discover her own voice as the shadows deepened. The city lights flickered to life beneath us, each glowing window a testament to the myriad lives unfolding within. Each one a tapestry woven with threads of loss and renewal. The most challenging lesson I pondered was the realization that compassion devoid of boundaries is not true compassion in any sense. It is empowerment. Genuine compassion embodies the bravery to declare, "This far and no further." Ava inclined her head in agreement. Justice transcends the notions of vengeance and retribution. It revolves around the process of renewal, establishing an environment where truth has the opportunity to surface and healing can take its first steps. We lingered in silence for a moment, at ease within the quiet expanse that lay between our words. The arduous path that commenced with treachery had evolved into an outcome neither of us could have foreseen. A profound understanding of human connections that transcended our particular situations. I ponder how many individuals remain trapped in detrimental circumstances, mistaking boundaries for acts of cruelty. I remarked. At times, the most compassionate gesture we can extend to ourselves and those around us is to embrace acceptance and allow the natural course of events to take shape as the night enveloped us completely. It dawned on me that the most profound treasure of this challenging journey was not merely discovering Ava, but uncovering a more authentic version of myself. A person capable of harmonizing strength with kindness, safeguarding with empathy, and, above all, recognizing that the most significant scars of life frequently transform into our greatest educators, provided we possess the bravery to heed their lessons.